Welcome to the Void, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Nagy. With me is my ghost pipe fish. How we doing today, bud?
I'm doing well, man.
Nice. Well, I was really excited for my last week because we had our first snowstorm. And now the sun's kind of come back out. It's melted. And now it's just kind of cold. So it's been like cuddle up in a blanket with a good movie. And I was like, you know what? Going through all the streaming services, I was like, this is insane. So I thought it would be a fun idea to talk about all the movies out there and kind of how we take these things in now.
Yeah, the landscape's really changed. So let's get into it.
So I think the biggest thing that's easiest to see is all the streaming services. So we're pretty lucky where Jera's mother works for the telecommunications company. So she gets like the stupidest discount. Nice. So we have like all of them. Okay. And it's kind of insane when Jera and I finally do get like that one or two random nights a week where it's like, hey, we should try and watch a movie. And it's like, well, what do you want to watch? And we start and there's 7 apps on there, and you just start with one and you kind of just scroll through. And it made me think of how different that was compared to I used to have one of those old school CD cases that could hold 200 things. The binder that everybody used to have on their cars. For all the youth of our audience listeners, there's these things called CDs that used to play your iTunes and Spotify physically. But yeah, I had a big book of those of DVDs, and you'd literally scroll through it. Like, what am I in the mood for? And
or hell, go back even just to 2014 when you had a limited to 170 songs on your iPod. You could only listen to 2 podcasts at a time on there. There was also another time where you were very limited, and then once you listened to those, you had to go back to your computer, put it off, and then come back and then change it out. So
right. But yeah, that or just you'd walk in and somebody's entertainment system was the TV and then the surrounded by the boxes of DVDs. And so I was wondering, because I was like, oh, I want to watch this movie. And if you put on whatever, you're like, oh, I can't find that on any streaming service right now. But I've got a DVD collecting dust of it somewhere. That was just kind of an odd thing to think about for me, and kind of all the things that's changed. So,
yeah, I mean, some people watch DVDs, but most people are on the streaming services now, and that's just due to the convenience of them, right? And
when's also the last time you put in a DVD?
The last time I put in?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just saying. I'm literally.
I genuinely couldn't give you a number. If it had to be, it's probably before I went on cruise ships or somewhere around that time. So 2015, 2014.
I'm even trying to think if I even touched my book. It's damn that streaming services Xboxes still play DVDs and things like that. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if the gaming culture actually has more. I'd be curious to see if any of it gamers are still I
they
still
don't,
use this
because they have the apps on their Xboxes.
Yeah, that's true. But again, if I had more ready access to a DVD player, I'd probably be more inclined to use my have my or still possess my DVDs and things like that. I'm curious about it. I might look into that later.
But
what about going to a movie?
That is actually an experience that I miss. And this is what I really hope that happens in the future. And I think it's going to start to happen, is that movie theaters start to just do more dynamic events. They show UFC fights. They show football games. They do reruns of old, awesome theater movies. X, Y, and Z. Just get better marketing behind it and get behind it, because I think the idea of the blockbuster movie is gonna still be there, but we've we need to find a balance between streaming movies and blockbuster movies, because I think there is an awesome room for both, right? I think with the streaming and the opportunity for movie buffs to watch anything that they want at their fingertips at any given time is awesome. But I also do personally miss going and standing in line and chopping up some bullshit about some bullshit about some bullshit, and then picking out the popcorn and going, damn, that's overpriced. Like, I miss the game of going to the movies.
Right.
And then you sit down and you've got your bucket of diabetes, and then you're just throwing it back as you're watching a movie. Just like, there was something to it. But I also think they've upgraded the experience with movies now that every theater I go to, you can lean back and put your feet up in the
Yeah.
I don't think we need
the armrests go up so you can cuddle up with a sweetheart, or you can or your bros, and
and it's more like acceptable for people to bring blankets and stuff to the movies, or just like I can rock up like this with my hood up, and ain't nobody will care. I'll just go sit down and watch my movie, and there's still like a culture to it, but I think the blockbuster needs to remain the blockbuster. But I think we also just need to diversify our events. I remember one of my favorite birthdays. I was probably 20, I don't know, whatever. But I went to see a Princess Mononoke in the movie theaters. And this is an old movie that released way in the 90s. But they just did a Ghibli festival. And I would love to do that again whenever they do those, if these happened more often. Like, if a movie theater did a different Ghibli movie every weekend, fuck yeah, man, let's go. I'd probably go once a month. But I think also the other hard part is, like, the prices are outrageous. I'm paying close to $60 if I want to get a tickets and popcorn and like the experience.
I was gonna say the other way. I was like, for me, when I was seeing things, movies are like the one thing that didn't strike with too much inflation, where I was like, ticket prices, yeah, it's like $12. But popcorn's like, now you can get beer. Like, we went to one and you can order like full food and it's brought to you by the end of the previews.
Yeah.
It's insane. But yeah, so some of those prices I think can vary by place.
Bro, most of the tickets I've seen are like $25. But, here is one thing that I think that is awesome that I saw that movie theaters are doing, is they do a subscription thing. So if you sign up, it's only like $24 a month. So it's the cost of seeing one movie, and then you can go over and over and over and over again. So if you're a real big movie fan, it's totally a thing to do that. I don't think I'll ever be going to the movie theaters that often, but I do really miss the experience. And I think they could bring it back with, again, old movies, but also like live events. How awesome would it have been to watch the World Series final in a movie theater with a bunch of people? And it doesn't have to be pitch black. Like, you can kind of have dim house lights, but like, you're just chopping it up as sports fans watching things on the fucking IMAX, right? Like,
right. You're not using that screen for anything else. Might as well, like you said, keep the lights on and let people watch it on a huge giant screen.
A movie needs to be shown in a theater. Like, did you ever watch the new Roadhouse?
Yeah.
Dude, that movie with Conor McGregor was designed for a goddamn theater. All right? Like, that movie was designed to have loud sound. It was designed to be 80% of the screen is the bottles falling as he's scraping them across the bar. And I don't get the same feeling watching that on my 36-inch. You know what I mean? So I
a
think
home theater only does so much for the general population. The people that don't have like a crazy setup that is basically a movie theater just in their basement.
Exactly. But I think the also thing, as movie goers, we need to go out of our way to go see these movies in the theaters to protect them. And I could challenge
that was one of the messages from when I saw the Dungeons and Dragons movie. Like, before the movie started, all the actors were sitting in a chair and they're talking to the camera and they're like, hey, we actually want to thank you for being here in a theater. You guys are keeping movies like this being made. And I was like, damn, I guess I really didn't think about that, because you just think of that movie looks sick. I wonder which platform it's going to be on in months when I can watch it.
Exactly. And now there's two strokes of people. Like, it depends on what movie it is. I'm going to go see it in the theaters or wait for it to come to the platform. But I also think, like, what is so much cooler and we have so much more access to on the streaming platforms is the old straight to DVD. Like, how many movies was that a death sentence when they came out and they were like straight to DVD? But you saw some of them and you're like, you know what, this actually isn't that bad. I enjoyed this. It was a fun watch. And stuff like that you can see now almost every week. Like, Netflix has a new something every week for you to watch. But I do think that we need to go back to the theaters, and we can do anything we want. I don't like where people are just saying, hey, we're limited to whatever. No, dude, anybody can sell stuff nowadays. Like, it's not rocket science if you can make a decent movie. I think the Hollywood budgets have just gotten blown out of proportions, but there are some horror movies that did phenomenal, were made on like a GoPro and a mic.
Again, with the advancement of technology, it goes hand in hand, because a lot of people, like, you can go get 75, 85-inch TVs for like $1,000 or $2,000 and put that in your basement or your living room. Yeah.
If you're on Craigslist, cheaper.
Right. And then, like, so you have a huge TV, you get a sound bar, you kind of have your own experience. Mm-hmm. Like, that is right there. But inversely, like you said, what was it? Something was just shot on like the iPhone like 16. Like, they were bragging about it, that they did all these things.
I don't know.
And so it's like, I just don't think there's going to be the money in it anymore. Like, there's not these $200 million movies being made that get like a $40 million kickback. Like, is going to be way more prevalent because they went too big. But yeah, that's something for financials to talk about.
Well, I think the other thing is, like, we've also seen this with major movie production studios, right? They're making a lot of movies that are engaging in multiple different languages and cultures. And they're doing a lot of movies that are pertaining towards China, not in like Chinese rights, but just as a very basic action movie that doesn't have a lot of depth and not a lot of conversation. Marvel. And just, and there's nothing wrong with it as a series, but that's why you're able to pump out movie after movie after movie and week after week. So I think the other thing is we need to support indie movies in the theaters as well. If you want to see an indie movie in the theater, right? You need to go out and go see it and do the thing and be a part of the culture and the movement when those things happen.
I think that would almost need to be a new thing, because it's movies like, to me, it's like blockbuster movies have almost ruined theaters, because like when we went and saw Avatar, the second one, in theaters, dude, like, people don't respect the ambiance of a movie anymore. Like, we used to laugh at the, like, please silence your cell phones, like, thing. Now it's like a real thing. Like, this guy's phone rang, and I'm not talking like once or twice. Like, he like let it ring to voicemail in the middle of the movie. Like, it was like, damn, dude, like, literally, like, ring, that's somebody's phone. Dude, is he gonna get that? Should I say something? If it rings again, I think I'm gonna have to say something. Like, it rang that many times, and I was just like, what the fudge, man? And like, people running around, if you're in like those elevated theaters, you see people like on their phones, and you're just like, when we were like growing up, to me, it was like, dude, you go to the theater, like, don't even whisper too much to me, because I'm here immersed in this. So I think that's kind of been ruined. And if it's gonna switch to like the indie thing, I think it would almost be better, because it's like the people there are truly going there. They're not going to say they've seen it to their social group of friends or whatever. They want to go see that specific special movie that maybe not a lot more people know about.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do. I think the culture's got to come back around. I also think that's also a byproduct of just the world that we have, unfortunately.
There's not a lot that
dude. I'm gonna say odds. I'm throwing a dart at a dartboard, and 70% chance lands on that dude. Was like probably 76. Just got that phone last week. Had no fucking clue.
I looked. I literally turned around and looked because it was ringing so long, and it was just middle-aged, like 40s, 50s. Like, what's going on. You're just a dick.
Well, then I can't help you. I
Yeah,
will.
no, it's
I was assuming the benefit of the doubt that it was some 85-year-old dude that his dad, his son was like, "Man, you just got the upgrade. Like, fucking get the new phone," and he got it for him. So now that he can actually track his dad and where he's going and all the shenanigans, and then the dad's like, "Look, bud, I don't know how this thing works. You tell me. Here,
Right.
you look. You're offering to me. You turn the damn phone off. Here, I throw it in the trash, please. I don't want to deal with that anymore." That old guy like was so over it.
Oh no! At first, it was literally like, "Oh, it rings." Like, "Oops, forgot to silence it. Maybe they should have played that commercial longer." And then you're like, "Yeah, we looked." But that's a completely different conversation on the times because even yesterday I was walking Disney, and all the teenagers were waiting to take the bus, and I had to say, "Excuse me," to like 5 of them because they're standing in the middle, look up, see me, then look back at their phones, and they're like in the middle of the sidewalk. I was like, "Oh, okay, cool."
That's just part of the world that we live in now. That's just.
But I think that's a factor that is going to murder movies because, like I said, that Avatar might be one of the last movies I saw, and yeah, it was a terrible experience. And when we saw Dungeons and Dragons, there was like no one in the theater, so I was like, well, I don't have a sample, like a data sample here.
That's how it was when I saw the last movie I saw in theaters was Burt Kreischer's The Machine. And it was the same thing. There were like 7 of us in the theater, which I felt bad, but I was like, yo.
Right.
You know, like we're here, we're doing the thing, but I enjoyed it. But I was like literally just last week, as you brought this up, thinking, man, I miss going to the movies and just like seeing something. But then again, my attention span, I don't really watch movies that often now, unless they're like longer form stuff, which I think has to do with the Netflix algorithm and Hulu algorithm and everything that's coming around, because I feel like most of the modern movies that come out on there follow the same formula. It's like, hey, he's been dead the whole time. He's wearing the same clothes in 2 scenes back to back. Thank you. Like, shut up, man. It's the same thing that happened in the last 4 movies. Like, it's
right.
And they know the plot line that gets people involved, which I think is good and bad, because obviously you get to see people do what they like. I don't want to take that away, but for me, makes it a lot less that I want to watch the movies and a lot more want to watch long form series, like docu-series and stuff. If it doesn't have like 3 episodes, I'm like, do I really like do
I invest in this? Yeah.
Which I think is the counter
noticed,
movement to your culture that you were saying.
Right. Well, I noticed a lot of the Netflix formula for TV shows is one thing, but a lot of the movies, I literally call it like the M. Night Shyamalan effect. So I call him M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong because he comes out with these amazing premises. And like for the first half of the movie, even like 3/4, you're like, damn, what's going on? And then his like resolution, you're like, what? Why? And that happens in like way too many of his movies. And that's
Which
what
was
I
it,
think
The
a lot
Village, where they like there was all these fancy beasts, and then it turns out it's like just people walking around in Bigfoot suits, and you're like, dude, you could have fucking done 9 million other things with that.
Yeah.
I can come up with 6 before I get out of this chair. Why?
Right. Yeah. Like that, and like the signs where it's like, dude, this is crazy, this is scary, and they die by water, and everybody's like, why'd they come to Earth then? Like it's 80%, 70% water. Like, so it's little things like that, where the last one we watched was where there's like a beach that people can go on and they age like years every a couple hours kind of thing. And yeah, just the resolution is just like garbage. But a lot of movies like lately have that, where they have crazy hooks and things and ideas, and then just like fall so flat. And
Well, it's because they're worried about the engagement time, man. As long as you watch that movie to the end, they don't give a shit. And they know you're going to watch it to the end because you want to see the resolution. So so they only have to write 80% of a story. And that's part of the formula that they keep moving on Netflix and everything. And that's where I think there is a counterculture movement in watching the long form docuseries and whatnot. Because me, I won't watch anything that's short just because I want to consume the longer form things. I'm like, what can you actually tell me in 90 minutes? Nah, I don't want to see it. And then I also guess like 90% of the scenes that are moving forward that we're trying to set up the plot, that's coming to the end, that sort of setting up the plot. I remember when, here was one of my favorites. You remember when Endgame came out and we all go to the theaters and we're excited, we're doing things, and my buddy pulls up. He's like, dude, this is a 3.5 hour long movie or whatever the fuck it was. And he had pulled up an exact sheet that didn't give any spoilers of when you could go to the bathroom and come back.
Right, yeah, that was like a whole website.
Bro, there was like 45 minutes added up of it that you could go to the bathroom, and you're like, huh? What? Then why? Right. Then what's the point of this movie being this long?
Right. To me, it's a double-edged sword because sometimes the long form, if it's done well, yes, of course, hands down, it's better. You're getting a full length of the story. There's not like fair. Yeah, there's not all like you're having the resolution, you're having character development, you're having all these things. Awesome. I don't like when things like that explain, like they drag stuff out where it's like, what's the summation of the whole episode? The whole episode was they had to get from A to B, or there was a MacGuffin, but it took a whole episode and nothing really happened. But it was an entire episode and they did like one thing on a character arc and now you got to wait for the next one to figure stuff out. Like that stuff's bothersome.
Yeah, but that depends on the show too. Like some shows have those and they're cool for different reasons. Like if you track anime, some things are cool just because like they had this guest artist come on and he drew that character that's the bad guy and you're like, oh shit. I understand that this has nothing to do with that greater story, but it's really dope that he was the artist on this and this is actually a pretty cool different thing than the storyline. You know, like there's little things to that.
Well, then I would almost argue that that's like short form because like that's why Love, Death, and Robots was so cool because it's those small things by all these different
totally, but that's what I'm saying is like where you've got to pay attention to the series and the episodes and see what they're actually for and the meaning.
Okay, because right, yeah.
There are a lot of I know if you want to talk long form, anime is probably the greatest long form content there is with thousands of episodes. Yeah. There are tons of websites that give you just the episodes that you need to watch for plot lines, and I will do that.
Right.
So they're like, hey, so what I'll do is whatever. When I'm consuming my memes and I don't know the meme on this character, I will go onto the website and say, hey, what is Majin Buu's plotline in Dragon Ball Z? They'll give me the exact 26 episodes that I need to watch, and I'll just go watch those, and I'm like, oh, I get it. Cool. And then now come back. But you also get to see the full story arc of this character. And so that's the other part that's cool about it.
Yeah. And I think the other formula that's starting to change that I liked was like the Ted Lasso effect, the Lasso way of like, for me personally, it was like positive things where it's like, to me, that's such a happy show. Mm-hmm. Netflix focuses on a lot of dark. There's a lot of people that consume that. I've never really been a fan of like murder series and the dark true crime and stuff like that. And I'm like, dude, well, I'm trying to, for me, movies and TV it's my escapism. I'm trying to escape to a happy place. And that one just like was perfect. Like, yeah, there's drama, there's real life things, but it's on a positive note versus these other things that like they end on like crazy cliffhangers where it's like, oh my God, is this person going to be alive the next episode kind of stuff? And there's tons of those. So I've been seeing more shows kind of shift in that like, hey, like real life drama happens, but we're also like kind of grounding this in reality.
Because they got to keep you locked in, man. You got to keep in.
It's all about the money. I mean, that's the answer to absolutely everything. It's just, well, where's the money? All of that is AB Fantasy, brought to you by Schnaggles. Hey guys, Nagy here. Got a nice little book I wrote. This is for my son Atlas, available on Amazon. You can order your copies. This is an alphabet book to teach your kids all the letters of the alphabet with amazing pictures and fun rhyming schemes. I was really bored of reading Atlas's books because they weren't entertaining, so I decided to make one of my own. But check it out. give it a like on Amazon. Made it as cheap as possible while still making a solid $1.50 for myself. So check it out. It'll make the hero out of all of us while we learn the alphabet together. Thanks, guys. Anyway, so now back to movies of it. I think one of the things that kind of goes with the consumption, at least this was personal for me, is I told you about like literally maturing out of movies. So I don't know if you empathize with this at all, where like I can't watch certain movies anymore. Like Superbad was amazing when I was in high school, college, but now I'm not trying to lose my virginity or buy alcohol, like struggle to buy alcohol. And like Old School, I realized I went from the college partiers to the old guy that when Will Ferrell describes the trip to Home Depot or like his casual Sunday, I'm like, it sounds like an awesome day, dude.
Yeah, but I think that's also like the funny part about the comedies is you look at them from a different angle. Because I still think that Superbad, if I were to watch it now, is hilarious. It's still hilarious to this day.
Okay.
And then even Old School, it changes my opinions because everybody laughed at earmuffs and it's like, oh, that's funny that the kid can't hear the thing. Yeah. But then now you see it as an adult, you're like, oh, earmuffs.
Yeah, like people do it. They're like, genius. Like I do that with my kids. Like awesome. Like,
so like, I think it's just relatable from other sides because when we were like, okay, one of the things that my buddy taught his 2-year-old son to do was cheers. So he would come around and have his glass of milk or whatever, and he would just cheers you and then drink his milk. Which, like, as a just consumer young kid, you're like, that's funny. Hey, the kid does cheers. And then as an adult, you're like, oh, he's engaged in the party and they don't have to entertain him because now everybody's asking him to do cheers and he's happy. And you're like, oh, so you just see things from a different angle, you know? And I think that's the other fun part about comedies.
Fun fact, I taught Atlas cheers and he does it. And it's so that like when we need him to drink something, like if we're going somewhere, it's hot, whatever, he's got like a juice he needs to finish. Cheers, and he like goes from fighting you to being like, oh, it's my game, and we have to play that.
Now, wouldn't 22-year-old Nagy have figured that out, or would 22-year-old Nagy have just sat there with Atlas and gone, cheers? Dude, he does it!
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it's just cool to look at it from a different angle now.
To an extent, like there definitely are some timeless ones. Like timeless comedies. I would say I think Hangover is pretty timeless. There's other movies like Old School, crazier sci-fi, or even like Scream's a really good example. The original Screams and like a lot of older horror movies are now almost outdated because those kind of situations, like, oh my God, we're stuck here. Like, I don't have any service. Like, bro, there's 5G. Like,
he cut the line. He cut the line to the landline.
Yeah, he ripped all the phone cords out of the wall, and half the audience now would be like, "What the fuck's a phone cord?" Like, so there's times like that where you're like, "Oh, that's more of a bummer." Or like the most advanced backpackers in a movie set in the 80s, 90s, whatever, are packed to the gears, been doing it forever. Get lost. It's like, well, now you have your GPS. So even a movie, it's like it broke. I'm like, hell yeah, that's plausible. But again, you're watching another thing, like these problems or these situations, almost they're literally obsolete.
But then some of the obsolete ones still bring back awesome things, like the Blair Witch Project. That whole thing was filmed on a VHS, and in the middle of the night in the woods is scary, regardless of what you have. Like that's horrifying. Right. So that like show that movie again in movie theaters and people will probably come watch it during the Halloween season. You don't need to have a new Halloween movie that comes out with Jason Momoa and insert your favorite random 14-year-old Hollywood heartthrob at the moment and or tweenster TikToker and X, Y, and Z. No, just show us the shit that we like, that we know.
Right.
Like, still, again, we said it's still funny. Do a comedy film festival weekend where everybody's just seeing different old school comedies.
Right. And I think a lot of the writing style and like we said, the formula of movies of get the engagement, maybe it worked versus actually like thought out like Anchorman's. Like when's the last time people quoted a movie constantly. You had like Austin Powers, you had Anchorman, you had Hangover. Like you had those where it's like you would speak the language of movie quotes to each other in like high school and college. And I was like, I don't even know the last time I like really quoted movies with buddies and things like that. Like that writing style has changed. You're not doing the one-liners and the punchlines anymore.
Well, the other thing that you have is you also have the saturation of the market, right? Because everybody consumes their media so diversely in so many different ways. I couldn't even tell you the amount of hours I watch on YouTube, which again is long form content more often than not. But most of my people that I hang out with don't consume YouTube content, right? They don't. It's just whatever. So that's not like the volume of content has created the diversity, so that doesn't happen anymore. And you get what I'm saying? When the movies were the only thing to do, yes, everybody quoted a movie. But now there's so many different movies. I could say, hey, Nagy, did you see the new Transformers movie? Which one? And there's 4 of them, right? And unless you watched all of those, you're going to pay attention. But guess what? At the same time, the 6 new Goosebumps things came out. And I'm a horror guy, so I'm going to go watch the Goosebumps. So we're all just consuming different lengths of media. We're just not limited to the same 97 channels that we had before.
I mean, yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. And like that, yeah, there is so much, like I said, like, and the other thing is when they are exclusive to certain things, like you can pretty much guarantee, I would say, like most people have Netflix. Okay, most people, a lot of people are going to have Prime, and then you got like Hulu, then you have HBO Max, blah blah, and it goes down kind of that line. And so it's like did you see, the new We Who Are About to Die? And it's like, oh no, that's on Peacock. I don't have Peacock. Like, oh, are you watching the new Penguin series? Like, no, that's on HBO. Like, are you watching this thing on Prime? Like, yeah, dude, that's hilarious. Like, that's, like you said, that difference of people are so expanded everywhere that it can be that where it's like, yeah, we're not all seeing that anymore. It's like, oh, that's not coming to Netflix until blank. Like, insert a foreign date.
So here's your estimated subscribers by streaming services. Number 1 is Netflix with 282 million. Number 2 is Amazon Prime with 230 million. Disney with 153 million. Tencent Video, which is a Chinese company, 117 million. IQE, or I can't remember, another Chinese one. HBO Max with 90 million. Paramount 71 million, and then it starts to drop off after that. So Hulu, Eros, and Alt Balaji, which is a Indian company.
And so I'm going to guess that's worldwide.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, and on that note, that's Disney's actually way higher than I thought. But then I remembered that Disney absorbed Hulu. And I was scrolling through it the other day, and I was just like, this isn't like, they need to go back and have like another Disney button and everything else, because like I'm looking at it right now, like Idiocracy is now on Disney Plus.
Well, keep in mind still why we have to look at the global records, because people travel all over the world now. Imagine if we had streaming services when we were on cruise ships and our Wi-Fi was decent enough that we could just kind of watch whatever, right? It didn't cost us an arm and a leg to do it. It would be like $2. We'd go, okay, I'll pay the $2 tonight to watch the movie. And we go on to a streaming service. We would have the ones from our home country. So there's people in the US with Tencent watching their favorite Chinese shows and whatever, back to the variety of consuming. If you come home and your mom's not watching the one telenovela channel and she's got her whole streaming service with all these different telenovelas, it's going to be running 24/7 in the house, not just the one time it's on in the afternoon. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you're going to have those things that are happening as well throughout all these streaming services is making them global. Because I wouldn't be shocked if like Tencent starts putting all their stuff with English subs and people start watching Chinese movies and it's like, oh damn, these things are actually pretty good. Hold up. And then so now we're watching Chinese movies as Americans with American dubbed things because they're just awesome movies. Like, I remember Prime had an Indian movie that was pretty high up relatively recently. I don't remember exactly what it was called. But
there's been a couple of like the insane Bollywoods that I've been on my list for a long time that I want to watch because it's like they look like Avengers meets Austin Powers with like the scale and ridiculousness. And yeah.
So now,
but side fact, when we were on ships, I was using Netflix in foreign places, and it does actually unlock what's local there. So like I could watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine and shows like that. But side note.
But same thing. That's something that our people are doing. Like, for example, my girlfriend and I were out with dinner with her parents, and they can't watch any of the local hockey games on ESPN because they're all blacked out locally. So we have to go to a bar or something to go watch them, or they have to pay for the TV service. But I can watch my Capitals at home all the time because in Denver, nobody cares about the Capitals. Like, I can, so like those are just different things you have to keep in mind that have changed conveniences and how people consume things. Because I will consume fights and media all just sitting here at my computer.
Right. Versus like you had to go to the bar. You know, Buffalo Wild Wings used to be like infamous for being like, we have all of like the fights. I knew that if we ever wanted to go see a special event fight, it was going to have to probably be at a Buffalo Wild Wings and things like that. But it's everybody again. Is it like a convenience or a laziness thing of like, dude, I have my home theater. I've got my awesome computer. I'm just going to sit and do it here rather than go out and do these things.
Dude, for me, it's convenience, right? Because like I can get so much stuff done sitting here at my computer with my second monitor and a stand-up desk. I can get on my bike and I can sit here and pedal and watch it and do other, like I can get so, for me, it's a convenience thing. Or like say one of my priorities is cooking dinner. I can now put up my little screen and watch it while I'm cooking dinner or whatever. Or tonight we're going to a Halloween party and I was like, hey babe, just so you know, at these current times during these fights, I will be MIA. And then she turned to me and she goes, hey, can I watch this one with you? This looks awesome. I was like, absolutely. But the fact that I don't have to miss out on like parties with my girlfriend and I can still be present and be like, hey, I'm just going to dip out for like 15 minutes. Just so you know.
I'm going to go take a smoke break and I don't smoke anything. I'm just sitting on
the whatever.
Quiet,
I'm going to go sit in my truck and turn on my surround sound and watch my fight and then go back in and hang out with these people that I don't know. So
like that's insane. Where, you know, and then like the fold down TVs in cars. Like we looked at one and somebody told us it was like a brag. I was like, dude, do this have fold down screens? He's like, yeah, there's a DVD player. We don't know if it works though because we don't have any DVDs. I was like, that's an awesome tool that like, yeah, you don't have anything to watch. Like, yeah, we just give them our phones now. Like that's insane. Pretty much to wrap it up, I kind of want to just hear, because I feel like you're like a list of some of your faves.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Because I feel like yours is going to be quite different than mine.
Number one movie of all time, by far, is Gladiator.
Because you want to fight?
No, just because that is the story of a man that literally has nothing to lose. He can't lose, so he fights with the sheer will and tenacity that anybody and everybody should do with life. Because this guy's already killed his wife, killed his kids, taken away his army. Like, what can you do worse than me than leave me in a fighting pit to fight my way out of it, right? Like, it is the ultimate movie in a revenge story, and just that one speech of, my name is Maximus Decimus Meridius. I was the general of the Felix Legions, ruler of the armies of the North. I was the servant to the true Caesar. Like, you can hear the pain in his
acting.
Gosh.
So, okay. All right. Fair.
And then also back to the movie theater experience. Think of how grand that movie is. Like, back to
that's where
you
some
add
of
that to the
there.
Story is like you have this man fighting for anything that he wants in front of literally tens of thousands of people that are shown on screen, and you can feel the thunder when Proximus goes to him and he's like, and you can control the crowd as if you were the thunder god himself. You're like, no, they give you that experience, and it's awesome.
That's where the other thing is, there are certain movies that should be viewed, like Avatar, Gladiator. I mean, I would throw in Dune, like cinematographic and cinematography based movies. That one your home theater is never going to get. Like, I can completely concur with that versus, like more bottlenecky episodes, or where it's a lot more dynamic and interactive, and it's about the dialogue, and it's not a huge action flashy movie. It's like, no, this is like a heady kind of film. Those ones, I think, again, aren't really necessary for a theater anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, favorite comedy.
Grandma's Boy. It's just fun.
Nice. Yeah.
It's just fun. You want to talk about movie quotes? I do that one all the time and nobody gets it. I just answer my phone. I just literally pick up my phone and go, dude, it's for you. I think it's the devil.
Yeah.
Nobody ever gets it. It goes right over their head.
Yeah, no, that, like, again, that's a timeless one, but that's back to like the one-liners and stuff like that, where that one isn't like going anywhere.
And also straight to DVD. Didn't even go into theaters.
Really?
Grandma's Boy went straight to DVD.
Yeah. So like Happy Madison dipped pretty hard because they lost the raunchy comedies like Grandma's Boy. Then they made a handful of like the Grown Ups one, which was like fart jokes and family movies that didn't have any substance. And like they're kind of trying to come back. We're going to see how he does with Happy Gilmore 2 here. So that's going to be very interesting.
I enjoy almost anything Adam Sandler does. So
really, you liked Grown Ups?
I was a fan of Grown Ups.
What about the one, Jack and Jill, the one that was shot on the Allure of the Seas? It was him, and he plays himself and his sister. I
don't think I ever saw that one.
Don't waste your time. But it was fun that it was on the Allure.
But again, dude, you can't say like they, not every strike that you throw hits. Mike Tyson didn't hit everybody with every punch that he threw. He whiffed a few of them, but the majority of them did some damage. Majority.
They were raunchier ones.
Yeah. So, what are you doing then to consume movies now? What's changing your opinions on how you do things? Because we talked about my favorite movies, but like, how are you consuming movies at the current moment?
It's changed to the like biggest effect of, I used to hate not finishing movies. Like if I'm starting it, I'm finishing it. I can't start a movie and then like Gerald just like fall asleep, or people fall asleep if it's late at night. I'm like, no, this is a new movie. I need to finish. With a small human, sometimes it's like, dude, he's not going to sleep. We have to turn it off and everybody has to go to bed now. So one of the things is it takes more time when we're doing it at home. So for us, it is 100% about the convenience of having it in our home, in the living room, turn it on. Jared can hang out with Atlas and things like that while I'm doing stuff and we're watching that kind of stuff. Going to movies, like the last movie I saw was Dungeons and Dragons, and she didn't get to see it. We literally like have switched off of like, I'm going to go to the movies with Diego. She's going to go to the movies with Soleil. Like, because we're playing defense, we're not going to be the psychos that try and bring a toddler into the movies. No respect for those people. You deserve to like stub your toe on your coffee table every day. But I do hope to take him to movies later on, and do the big like Disney things and stuff like that in the theater, and like have that events and have like a family night of like, yeah, we're going to the movie and having fun and stuff like that. But I think overall with kids, it's the whole process of like, if you want to go to a movie, you're going to have like 30 minutes of getting them in a car seat, getting to the movie. And if they're throwing a fit, it's like, dude, you just missed the movie because they wanted to do that. So it's very different, where to me, I think the convenience of having it in home is going to be like the staple now because that's just like what's easiest in life.
So are you going to raise him to be like a movie kid? Were you a movie kid? Because I remember for me and my brother, there was a phase there where my mom was in grad school and she would just drop us off at the movies and sit in the lobby and do her homework. And so we watched a shit ton of movies. So were you guys like in and out of movies, or were you just a normal?
No. So I wasn't in and out of movies. The throwback to I got Blockbuster ran the special of if you paid X amount a month, you could have unlimited rentals. Mm-hmm. And I would ride my bike to Blockbuster, rent movies, and ride it home. And I was doing that.
So
daily.
You've almost always consumed media at home. Yeah. So that's where it's been normal for you.
Yeah. So the movie theaters in Boulder were too far away. Like the one in like West Pearl was it was like a indie film. Like they wouldn't show a lot of the like big ones. So it was too far away to get to. Then there was the big expensive theater in Louisville, which was, we didn't have a vehicle and my parents didn't want to take us. So we would go to the movies a lot. Like when my parents wanted some peace and quiet, they'd kick us out of the house. But yeah, for me, it's pretty much always been at home.
So you've been following your same trajectory then?
Yeah. Well, reflections. Easy. Technology just caught up with me. I just took my bike riding away, so I got to get a little machine like yours.
But it's not even technology, because if we're talking about just pure habits, you've had the same habit. It's always watching a movie on your couch 80% of the time. That's where you enjoy watching it. There are literally some people that don't watch movies at home and will only consume them in the theaters.
Yeah, very fair. And to me, it's the same as like, I would never put a TV in my bedroom, and I have friends that like don't even have a TV. I'm like, yo, I respect the hell out of that.
Bro, I have like too many TVs running through my house because I've always got to have something running in the background.
Yeah, and that's why I'm the same way. Where like, I'll get home, and now that Atlas is processing a lot more, he's finally started recognizing the TV's got something going on. And we'll sit and stare at it. And like there was one where like I was putting his juice cup in front of his face, and he was literally like doing the like see through it, looking around it without even engaging. And I was like, crap, time to turn on music and stuff like that, because it's something I do, but it's like I don't want a zombie baby for like while we're at home and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting how there will now be a new like movie time like at the Nagy household.
There you go. All right.
Well, in any way that you're going to consume, thanks for joining us on this time.
Yeah, leave us a comment and let us know how you guys are consuming your movies. Or if you're feeling so frisky, don't forget to like this and help us out with the algorithm. See you next time.